Hey everyone, this is Mike Rennick. As I promised, we're going to continue to tell the story of Longboat Key. So we're at Joan Durant Park today. We're going to come back and do specials on the park. But I've got two great friends with me, Melissa and Steve Reid. They're the owners and publisher of the Longboat Key News. What I like about talking to them right up front is they're raising a family with 6 kids in this area. So they've got a little bit different perspective of our island in terms of working and living conditions and stuff. So what I'd like to do is start with Melissa and have her share her story, and then we'll turn to Steve. Melissa, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. What did you want exactly from what we came here and what we decided to?
Yeah, what do you think of the attributes? Why do you like Longboat Key?
Well, the most is the people are very sweet, and they're very, very caring about what their Longboat Key looks like and what happens on Longboat, and very involved in the community and very friendly, and they work really hard to keep it safe and something everybody can enjoy.
So it's more, would you characterize it as a laid-back kind of a community, but yet when people want to have fun, there's opportunities here?
Right, definitely. Yeah. If you want to put your energies into joining one of the community groups and organizations and do that like you do, you can do that. Or if you just want to relax on the beach, you can do that as well. So I like the different aspects that you can do. And of course, with the children, I've come here to Joan Durant Park, and we've been here many, many times with the children. They love it.
Excellent, excellent. So what originally brought you to Longboat Key? How did you end up in this part of Florida?
Well, I had grown up, my mother and I moved to St. Petersburg area when I was about 8 years old from Pennsylvania. So
Okay.
I had grown up sort of in the region, and I visited Sarasota many times in college. And so when Steve and I were starting a family, we decided, if we moved to one of the grandparents, it would probably be my mom's and in St. Petersburg area. And I told him, I said, you have to go check out the Sarasota and Longboat Key area to see it, because you'll really fall in love with it. And we did. He came down here, and I showed him, and he loved it. He was like, we have to live in this area.
It is a great area,
It is.
isn't it?
It is. It's beautiful.
Stephen, thank you for being here also. I
Hey.
appreciate both your time. What's your story with Longboat Key?
Well, my story is quite different. I was attracted. First thing I thought when I met my wife Melissa was, we're going to go to New York City, and we're going to have the big publishing job. I'm not sure. Do you want me to look there?
Yep, wherever you're comfortable.
Okay. I thought we were going to have the big publishing job in New York. It's going to be a writer. We're going to work our way through the biggest, most basically the biggest market, the most challenging intellectual city in the world. And that's where I wanted to be. I grew up in Sag Harbor, New York. I was familiar with New York City. Had no interest in Florida. I thought Florida was overrun with developers and realtors and Disneyland, and that they did not preserve their environment, and that everybody, if it was beautiful, they wanted to market it and destroy it. That's how I viewed Florida. So my wife says, Steve, as she often does, it's not as simple as that. You need to check out Sarasota. So I visited her where she grew up, or spent the latter part of her childhood, in Pinellas Park, which is north of St. Pete. And that is not the Garden City of Florida. It's strip malls, it's endless pavement. But then I came to Sarasota. And like every other person, I don't think I chose it. I think it chose me. There's something magnetic, compelling, very, very important about this region. When you go over that bridge from Sarasota to St. Armand Circle, if you are not moved by that, I think you're really dead inside. If you have a soul, if you respond to beauty, if you respond to something as stimulating as the art scene here, how can you not fall in love with this area? So I immediately fell in love. I looked at the economic opportunity. I thought we could make a living here. I was a writer. I edited my college paper, so I applied at the Longboat Observer and worked there for 8 years, and worked with Matt Walsh. As everybody knows, in my view, he's hyper-conservative. I'm very liberal. And the first thing he asked me, he said, well, you can work here, but are you a capitalist? he asked me, and I said, well, it depends. How much are you going to pay me? So we had a feisty but good, hardworking relationship for 8 years, and we parted ways. And then my wife and I started our own paper, Longboat Key News, and last fall we started Sarasota City News. My wife is extremely intelligent, supportive, and beautiful, hence we have 6 children. And the interest of taking care of those 6 children obviously compete with the paper. There's no better place to live or work than this area. And as for the particulars of Longboat Key, this park where we are, James Durant, is an embodiment of what makes this place great. A man retired, James Durant, with millions of dollars, and he could have just lived his years out. But he actually cajoled the town of Longboat Key to build this park in memory of his wife, and like a true longboater, he dictated where the paths would be, what kind of botanical garden, the maintenance money, and this thing will be here in perpetuity because of this one interested resident who was a famous attorney representing Major League Baseball players in New York who came down here and did that. I got to write about James Durant. I saw the evolution of this park, but this island is filled of hundreds and hundreds of Jim Durant types, men and women who have been at the top of their careers. It's a fascinating place to live. It's a beautiful place. I don't know why anyone would go anywhere else.
And this is one of many parks that we have here in Longboat Key.
Oh, there's a half a dozen. Longboat Key is beautiful naturally, but then the people who live here, like Melissa said, self-consciously want to keep it beautiful and make it beautiful. The threats to Longboat Key are anything that take away from this beauty. So to me, they're undergrounding utilities. That's adding to the beauty. We're trying to add to the lushness and the vegetation on Gulf of Mexico Drive. That adds to the beauty. We protect the beaches. These are all things we get to do here on Longboat. So I love it.
Let me dive into a personal area for just a minute in
Yeah.
terms of how old are the kids?
How old are the
That's
kids?
gonna be a question
That's a
more for
Melissa
me.
question.
Oh,
She gave birth to them. I showed up. I was there at the beginning.
but for their birthdays, you need to know their age.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't
I
usually
get
have
old
that
are
memorized.
your kids?
The youngest is 7, then we have a 9-year-old and a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old and a, what is she now, 19, and then a 21-year-old.
So they're all being raised in the Sarasota Longboat Key area of Florida.
Right,
And you
right.
said earlier that they love it down here.
Yes, they do. Every birthday, a lot of birthday parties here, like I said, at this gazebo, and a couple at Bayfront Park as well, obviously. And of course, we take them to the beach all the time here.
So let me ask you to make a prediction and go out on a limb a little bit, because most folks aren't from Florida. And so you've raised, or and are raising 6 kids. Do you think they'll end up being permanent residents of Florida someday?
I guess
or
so,
do you think
yeah.
they'll disappear?
I think so. I think they will.
Well,
they're right now
Wait
going
a
and
second,
traveling
though.
a lot, but
They're
I think
kids.
they'll be back.
They know we're here. So
Okay.
that frees them up to leave, too. So in
Okay.
a way, we have one who's, our oldest daughter's moved to Denver, beautiful place, and she likes exploring the mountains. We have one going to school in Europe. But I think in a way, I grew up in Sag Harbor. I don't live in Sag Harbor. It's a beautiful place. You don't always have to go where you grew up, but they know we're here. So they sort of have this toehold here. So they love coming home. They come, so I think they'll always be here. I don't know if all 6 will end up.
Okay.
Because there's not necessarily, this is the prettiest spot in Florida. This is the best place
I
in Florida.
absolutely agree.
The rest of Florida, Orlando, you could just flush that down the toilet. This is gorgeous. I'm just being honest.
No, I
I'm not
appreciate that.
trying to sell Orlando real estate, but this place is unique. And there's certain places in the world that are unique, special, that people who can afford to live anywhere choose. And if you can't afford, I can't afford to live anywhere I want. I'm one of the lucky ones. I get to live here. So you're either lucky and get to live here, or you choose to live here.
That makes sense.
And those are great options. But anywhere else, it's a hellhole. I don't want to live in Arcadia. But here, yes.
Okay.
Sarasota, yes.
I appreciate both your thoughts. There'll be more stories to tell. This is Melissa and Steve Reid, again, the owners and the publishers of the Longboat Key News. I wanted their perspective to be captured so you can see it from a family perspective. Lots of opportunities on this island. This is still June. It's the beginning of summer. We will continue to tell the story with more folks and more things to do. Thanks for watching, everybody.